In the annals of British history, few cases have sparked as much intrigue and speculation as the unsolved murder of Sir Edmund Berry Godfrey. A prominent figure in the 17th century, Godfrey was a well-respected magistrate known for his diligent service during a tumultuous period in England's history. His mysterious death in October 1678 not only shocked the nation, but also ignited a national crisis that reverberated throughout the corridors of power, leaving an indelible mark on the political and religious landscape of the time. To fully grasp the significance of Godfrey's death, it's crucial to understand the volatile political climate of late 17th century England. This period was characterized by intense tensions between Catholics and Protestants, with deep-seated fears of a Catholic conspiracy to overthrow the Protestant establishment. These fears reached a fever pitch with the emergence of the popish plot in 1678, a fictitious conspiracy concocted by Titus Oates, who claimed that Catholics were planning to assassinate King Charles II and install his Catholic brother James, Duke of York, on the throne. Oates's fabricated story created widespread panic and led to a wave of anti-Catholic sentiment across the country. Sir Edmund Berry Godfrey was a central figure in the unfolding drama of the popish plot. As a justice of the peace for Westminster, he was responsible for taking the deposition of Titus Oates on September 28, 1678. This deposition was critical because it lent a veneer of legitimacy to Oates's outlandish claims. Godfrey, known for his impartiality and commitment to the law, found himself unwittingly thrust into the heart of a political maelstrom. Just 2 weeks later, on October 12, 1678, Godfrey's body was discovered under mysterious circumstances, setting off a chain of events that would captivate the nation for years to come. The discovery of Godfrey's body was nothing short of shocking. His corpse was found at the foot of Primrose Hill, a secluded yet public area in London. The scene was both grisly and perplexing. Godfrey was found lying face down, impaled on his own sword, with clear signs of strangulation. His neck was broken and his face was discolored, indicating that he had been suffocated. Oddly, there were no signs of a struggle and his clothing was unruffled, suggesting that the murder had occurred elsewhere and that his body had been moved to Primrose Hill. Adding to the mystery was the fact that his cane, gloves, and some other personal items were missing, only to be discovered later in different locations around London. The initial response to Godfrey's death was one of widespread shock and horror. As a respected magistrate, the murder raised immediate concerns about the safety of public officials and the potential for political unrest. The discovery came at a time when London was already on edge due to the inflammatory accusations of the popish plot. The public quickly connected his death to the alleged Catholic conspiracy, and fear gripped the city as people speculated about who might be responsible for such a heinous crime. The investigation into Sir Edmund Berry Godfrey's murder was one of the most extensive and controversial of its time. Authorities moved quickly to determine the circumstances of his death, but the inquiry was plagued by inconsistencies and conflicting evidence. Despite an autopsy that revealed Godfrey had been strangled before being run through with his sword, the exact cause of death remained unclear. The investigation became mired in confusion, and the lack of conclusive evidence led to widespread frustration. One of the earliest and most persistent theories was that Godfrey had been murdered by Catholic conspirators seeking to silence him. This theory gained traction due to the timing of his death, which occurred just after he had taken Oates's deposition. Many believe that Godfrey was killed because he knew too much, and that his murder was meant to intimidate others involved in the investigation of the popish plot. The theory was further bolstered by the testimony of Miles Prance, a Catholic silversmith who initially confessed to being part of a plot to murder Godfrey. Prance claimed that he, along with 3 other Catholics, Robert Greene, Lawrence Hill, and Henry Berry, had ambushed Godfrey, strangled him, and then staged the scene at Primrose Hill. Prance's confession was enough to convict the 3 men, who were subsequently executed in February 1679. However, Prance later recanted his confession, claiming that it had been coerced by the authorities under the threat of torture. This revelation cast doubt on the entire investigation and led many to question whether the real perpetrators had been caught or if the true story was far more complex. As the investigation continued, several other theories emerged, each more convoluted than the last. One theory posited that Godfrey had committed suicide, driven to despair by the stress of his involvement in the popish plot. However, this idea was widely dismissed due to the clear evidence of foul play. Another theory suggests that Godfrey had been killed by Protestant extremists who sought to use his death to stoke anti-Catholic sentiment and further their political agenda. This theory was based on the idea that Godfrey's murder could have been a deliberate attempt to frame Catholics and escalate the crisis surrounding the popish plot. Despite the various theories, no definitive conclusion was ever reached, and the murder of Sir Edmund Berry Godfrey remains one of history's great unsolved mysteries. The case had profound implications for English society, particularly in the way it exacerbated existing religious and political tensions. Godfrey's death added fuel to the fire of anti-Catholic hysteria, leading to the wrongful execution of several individuals and the persecution of countless others. The case also had a significant impact on public trust in the legal system. The failure to solve the murder and the subsequent miscarriage of justice highlighted the deep flaws and biases within the judiciary, further eroding confidence in the rule of law. Moreover, the murder of Sir Edmund Berry Godfrey had a lasting impact on the power dynamics of the period. The intense public reaction to his death played into the hands of the Whigs, who were staunchly anti-Catholic and used the case to rally support for their cause. This shift in power further polarized the nation, deepening the rift between Catholics and Protestants and laying the groundwork for future conflicts. The case also contributed to the broader climate of fear and suspicion that permeated English society in the late 17th century. Rumors and conspiracy theories flourished, leading to increased paranoia and a pervasive sense of distrust among the populace. In the centuries since Godfrey's death, his case has continued to captivate historians and the public alike. The mystery surrounding his murder has inspired numerous works of literature, plays, and even modern media explorations, all seeking to unravel the enigma of what really happened to Sir Edmund Berry Godfrey. The enduring fascination with the case reflects a broader human interest in unsolved mysteries and the dark intrigues of history. Godfrey's story has become a symbol of the dangers of political and religious extremism, a cautionary tale about the destructive power of fear and suspicion. Over the years, modern historians and writers have continued to examine and debate the circumstances surrounding Godfrey's death, often challenging the conclusions reached by earlier investigations. One of the most influential modern analyses came from American mystery writer John Dixon Carr in his 1936 book, The Murder of Sir Edmund Godfrey. Carr meticulously dissected the prevailing theories of the time, exposing their weak points and contradictions. After a thorough examination, he concluded that Philip Herbert, the 7th Earl of Pembroke, was responsible for Godfrey's murder. According to Carr, Herbert sought revenge on Godfrey because the magistrate had prosecuted him earlier that year for the murder of Nathaniel Coney. Although Herbert was convicted of manslaughter, he used his privilege as a peer to escape punishment. However, Herbert found himself in dire need of this legal privilege again when he nearly killed another peer shortly after his conviction. Carr's analysis suggested that Herbert, realizing that he might not escape unpunished a second time, took drastic action against Godfrey to avoid further legal entanglements. Carr's theory was later supported by British popular historian Hugh Ross Williamson in his 1955 book, Historical Whodunits. Williamson arrived at a similar conclusion, further cementing the idea that Herbert might have been the true culprit. In 1974, professional historian J.P. Kenyon also concurred with this theory, but allowed that, given the lack of definitive evidence, the matter could never be settled with absolute certainty. Another significant contribution to the debate came from Stephen Knight, who, in his 1984 book The Killing of Justice Godfrey, suggested that Herbert acted under the influence of the notorious Peyton Gang, a criminal syndicate with deep connections in the London underworld. Knight's theory added a layer of organized crime to the narrative, painting Godfrey's murder as part of a broader and more sinister plot. In contrast to these murder theories, historian Alan Marshall offered a different perspective in his 1999 book, The Strange Death of Edmund Godfrey, Plots and Politics in Restoration London. Marshall applied Occam's razor, the principle that the simplest explanation is usually the correct one, to the case, concluding that Godfrey most likely committed suicide. Marshall argued that Godfrey, overwhelmed by the pressures and dangers of his involvement in the popish plot, took his own life. He suggested that Godfrey's brothers might have staged the scene to make it appear as murder, to avoid the public disgrace and financial loss associated with suicide. The unsolved murder of Sir Edmund Berry Godfrey stands as a significant event in English history, highlighting the intense political and religious tensions of the late 17th century. His death not only raised questions about law and order, but also ignited a national crisis that fueled conspiracy theories and deepened societal divides. The investigation into his murder revealed the complexities of the time, illustrating how personal tragedies can reflect broader societal issues. As we reflect on Godfrey's legacy, it's essential to recognize the enduring nature of conspiracy theories and how they continue to shape public perception. The fascination with unsolved mysteries, particularly those tied to historical figures, invites us to consider the implications of fear and suspicion in our own lives. If you found this exploration of Sir Edmund Berry Godfrey's murder intriguing, we encourage you to subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. Don't forget to like and share this video with others who might be interested in history's unsolved mysteries. Explore our related videos to dive deeper into the captivating stories that have shaped our world.